Hello, friends, and welcome to Bleav in the Dallas Cowboys with your two best friends and the two best friends that anyone could have. I'm Jeff Cavanaugh. That's the wrong button.
Are you Jeff Cavanaugh?
I am. I don't even know what that one does because I can't hear the buttons that I hit. I can't hear the sounds they make. It just goes.
That was like that was like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like dun, dun, like the
rant. That's my rant music. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's rant music. Okay. Oh, let's try this again. I'm Jeff Cavanaugh from 97 The Freak, and that is former Cowboys wide receiver. Hold on, I gotta get my hands right. Former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley. Go, Jesse, go!
Oh, Jesse Holley went 77 yards. It must be a reality show.
Hi, Jesse. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. I'm well. I'm lit. I had the watermelon C4 this morning. I had a good workout this morning, so I'm kind of like still on that kind of thing going on.
That's nice. That's nice. All right. Well, we have Cowboys offseason and free agency to discuss today, Jesse. And I have a fun fact for the viewing audience right after I tell you that this presentation is brought to you by our friends at Cut. It's Kutt is how you spell that bad boy. It's an app where you can go to the website, cut.com. And you're going to want to use the promo code Bleav Cowboys, BLEAV Cowboys. And that is going to get you hooked up with a sign-up bonus, Bleav Cowboys. What you can do on Cut, like I'm on there right now. I made my account. And you could bet, will Shedeur Sanders be on the cover of EA Sports College Football 25? And then you get your odds right there. You can make up your own bets. It's a peer-to-peer thing. I could make one up and throw it out to the universe. I could set my own odds, and then somebody picks it up, and they're like, yeah, I'll take some of that action. You're like, get some, buddy. You're not playing against the house. You're playing against people. You can make up your own bets. They have a bunch on there as well. It's Cut, and you want to use the promo code Bleav Cowboys, BLEAV Cowboys. I could have, for instance, on Cut, made a bet yesterday. The Cowboys will be the only team who does literally nothing on the first day of free agency. And I could have given whatever odds I wanted, and I would have won all the money because that's our fun fact of the day. 31 teams did something yesterday. One did not. Hi, Jesse. How you doing?
I'm well, brother. How are you?
I'm good. It's funny to watch. It's kind of funny to watch, and it's kind of hurtful. And shout out to all you guys out there who stay around, you know? Not with us. You should always stay around with us because we're sweet people and your friends. But shout out to y'all who just stay in there, you know? You stay in there with the Cowboys, and I think that's nice. It's nice of you to stay in there.
Where else are they going to go?
You could pick a different team. Here's the thing about sports. And sometimes people get mad at me for saying this. You don't have to cheer for the team that's like closest to your house or who somebody else cheered for. And so you're like, I'll cheer for them too. You can do whatever you want. You can pick the players you like and cheer for them. You can do whatever you want in sports. You don't have to stick around, but you do. Yeah, and that's very sweet.
But you know, this is not exclusive to the Cowboys, but you know, the whole America's team moniker and how all that transpire and takes part. A lot of the reason, and I'm willing to go out on a limb. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say 78% of Cowboy fans. It is a family heirloom. It is lineage. It's my daddy's daddy was a Cowboy fan, and most of the Cowboy fans, some of those who are watching this very program right now, who are of the age of 40 and 50 years old. It goes back to sitting on my daddy's knee on Sundays after church watching the Cowboys. It's the Bob Lillies of the world. It's the Roger Staubachs of the world who then birthed the Troy Aikman fans of the world and the triplets, and then who birthed it. So it's this thing that goes so much deeper than just fandom, and that is the string that Jerry strums so eloquently each and every year. He plays into that, and people at some point in time, they look and they go, man, when will this cycle be broken? Right? Because there has to come a generation in the family that breaks this cycle. I'm not talking about the Jones family cycle. I'm talking about the fandom family cycle. And it comes to a point, but there's always those folks that are always teetering on that line, because we'll get into this, but there's always these people that are teetering on that line. If I go away, if I leave the fandomness, and the 30 years finally comes into fruition, and it produces a championship.
Come on back.
Can I come back?
Yeah, come on back and claim it. Here's the thing. Don't let the world tell you how to sport. Do whatever you want. Cheer for somebody else entirely. Don't even worry about the Cowboys. And then when they get to the playoffs, jump back in. Do whatever you want. It's sports.
There are more people who are faithful to their barber and the Cowboys than they are to their relationships.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's probably true. I mean, just look at the people who run the team that you're cheering for. Anyway, and to the dads and the grandpas who pulled the children into this, just know that you guys are part of the problem. You're part of the reason that the Cowboy fan has to take so much punishment, because especially if the 90s Cowboys were your team, you got to be a part of like the best team ever probably. And while you were doing that, you were real cocky about it. And you have been ever since, because it's easy when you're winning all the stuff. You just tell everybody else, you suck. It's nice to be us, though. And then later, now your kids have to deal with people hating you because you used to be really good. And like, I didn't even get to enjoy it, but now I got to hear from people who are like, what's up now, Cowboy fan? It's like, that was my dad who told you that. I wasn't there. I didn't win nothing. Y'all should love me. I'm a lovable loser. Anyway, it's free agency time. And we do have a report that there was one guy that the Cowboys were interested in yesterday. One guy. But it turned out it's too much money. And that is Zach Moss. They were interested in a running back if he cost $3 million. But it turned out he cost $4 million. So they had to bow out. So at least we have a hint of one thing, like what's going to happen at running back for the Cowboys. Very likely, they are going to bring in a $3 million player and draft a guy, or a $3 million player and hang out with Lipke and Deuce and maybe Rico. And at least we have a hint of something they would like to do, but $3 million was doable and $4 million was not. And I Bleav that's probably because, like, we can make fun of them and be like, oh, really? Then what's the difference? Who cares? I Bleav the difference is it would be literally impossible to sign the $4 million player, but not the $3 million player. They have $2.2 million in cap space. You have to assume it would be a 2-year deal worth, in their case, $6 million. For somebody else, $8 million. So you structure that contract. You pay a little more in year 2 than you do in year 1, but I bet that year 1 was still over 2.2. And so they just went, we can't afford it. And we're in the poorhouse.
And this is this sits solely on the shoulders of Stephen and Jerry Jones. And the reason being because you knew last year that this Dak Prescott situation was coming about. Like, there was more than enough time for you to sit and negotiate and talk with Todd France. There was more than this is the part where the Joneses, where I get a little bit kind of like, what's going on over there? Like, are we playing with a totally full deck? Because you keep gambling on this contract situation and you lose. You lost when you didn't sign Dak after his 3rd year back in his rookie situation. You lost when you franchised him that next year, and you lost when you franchised him that next year after that, and then you had no other choice but to write the check that you thought you didn't have to write. Like, the Cowboys, for some reason, they want to play this negotiating game, right? They want to get into this thing, and they want to kind of play this tough man game when you don't have the leverage. Like, this is not the time or place to play Russian roulette now with an absolute loaded gun, with all the bullets, and it's your shot. It's a fully loaded gun, and it's your shot. You don't have any leverage, because now you're flirting with the fact that if you continue to piss Dak off and his people off, if you haven't already, Dak just strictly goes, you know what? Screw it. I don't take any deal. I go into this season. I don't restructure this deal. I don't give you a break. I go in and play what I play for, and then I walk smoothly into free agency. Well, let's be honest. The one thing we can say about Dak when it comes to the regular season, he's going to play well. Like, he's going to play well, right? He's going to do enough to still be a top 10 quarterback in this market. And you look at teams next year, Pittsburgh will still be probably looking for a quarterback, right? Minnesota will probably be looking for a quarterback. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that will probably still be looking for a franchise quarterback who will open up the checkbook to give it to them. And then now you walk out of there and you have to, and you won't. And by the way, Cowboys, you won't be good enough to land in the sweepstakes of the Shadors of the world because you won't be top 10. You won't be top 5. You'll find yourself somewhere around between 18, 19 to 24, 25 because you'll win 10, 11, 12 games again next year. And now you'll find yourself in a situation where because you wanted to play this staring, I got to win a negotiating table contest and you lose at it. Like, you're not good at this. You're not good at this. And it's not one contract that you've kind of really said, aha, we got them. Like, none. And it always hurts you in the end.
Yeah, they lose them all. And it's because they don't do the things that smart football teams do. Like, we're talking about Dak Prescott, who is going into the last year of a deal with a no trade clause and a no franchise tag. Like, you're at the end of the line, right? So he doesn't have to do anything. And with what you just mentioned, sure, he could play it out and his agent could not even call the Cowboys back, which Ben Rogers says that kind of is happening, that whatever they tried to reach out to Todd France or offer that they're not even hearing back, which means your offer sucks and you're doing Cowboy stuff. But he could literally never answer the phone, go through the season, and you could still restructure him and push money back if you wanted to sign players. You could still do that without him. But
you go from 59 to 40. You're not going from like 59 to 10. Like, you still have to eat that money at some point in time.
Right, but just to illustrate, which you could do it either way for the Cowboys, not touch it or just move his money without an extension. You could do either one. And either one, if he wanted to play hardball, because the Cowboys love to play hardball and it never works because the agents they don't care. The agents also hate Stephen Jones for the most part. But you could just, I'm going to play out the season and then I'm going to walk. And when I walk, it's not just that I walk. You also smash into a $50 million iceberg while I'm gone because that's where you put all my money. So happy trails to you. But that's if Dak is vindictive and angry. And I don't know. But I do know that they've never cut the Cowboys a break and they're never going to because as the Cowboys do it wrong. We shouldn't be talking about Dak and is he going to get an extension? We shouldn't be talking about when will CeeDee get paid. The smart teams would be hammering out Micah Parsons' deal right now. Dak would have been done 2 years ago. CeeDee would have been done a year ago, and Micah would get done now. When you have the good players and you know they're the good players, the way that you get a deal that ends up being a good deal is you get in front of it. You do it when they're locked in for multiple years and there's an appeal to them of, yes, show me the money. Yeah. Not when they're at the end of the road and they're like, bro, free agency is right there.
Right.
I can get all the money. You have waited too long. And we haven't heard a peep about Micah. CeeDee should have been done.
Yep.
Micah should get done right now, but he won't because they wait. And instead of Micah's money having to beat Nick Bosa and Chris Jones, I'll have to look at NFL contracts, but the number you're going to have to beat next year will be $5 million higher. And that's just what they do because they're not good at this, because they're not good at it. And it happens. And the thing that I was talking about the most yesterday is like the day one of free agency. Is it hilarious that you're the only team that did nothing? 1 of 32? Yes, that's hilarious. But we know they're not playing in the big fish pond. They never do. So it's like there's not really a point to reacting to that and being like, oh my God. The only thing that is a problem right now is a lot of years because the Cowboys are good for the most part at drafting and developing. They have their misses, but they're one of the better teams at drafting and developing, except last year, that was awful. So we are moving forward in an offseason where last year, if you didn't play on day one of free agency, that was okay. Because what did you have to do last year? You had to replace Noah Brown as a starting receiver. So they traded a draft pick for Brandon Cooks. That was easy. You had to replace Anthony Brown as a starting corner. So they traded a draft pick for Stephon Gilmore. That was easy. You had to replace Connor McGovern, but Tyron Smith was now healthy and on the roster. So that was already done. Technically, you signed Chuma Edoga. So you had 3 things to replace. And what you did was you traded for 2 guys and you signed a guy who couldn't play, who wasn't good at all. 2 of them worked. 1 didn't. Which one didn't? The one that was a bottom of the barrel free agent. Okay. Now, if you're the Cowboys, what do you have to do this offseason? You have to replace 6 to 8 starters. You have less money than you did last year. You don't appear willing to trade the picks for the established veterans, which was the way that you did make it work last year for 2 guys. So you're going to do the Chuma Edoga route, except I need to go 5 or 6 guys that route to not be screwed in the draft. And your history of that sort of free agency is they can't play. And you're going to put 5 of those dudes on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. It's a bad plan. It's a bad plan. They should be doing something. They should restructure Trayvon Diggs, because here's the thing. They're going to. The only reason they haven't yet is because they don't like to play in this part of free agency for 2 reasons. One, it's true. You pay great money for good players. The alternative, and what they prefer to do, is to pay way less money for dudes who, if they're on the field, you suck. So it's like, what would you rather do? Pay a little extra for a guy because you're like, crap, I wish I could have got him for $2 million less, or pay less for a guy who can't play football? Because that's what you do. You sign dudes who can't play because you didn't want to pay more than you wanted to for dudes who can. That's a bad idea. And the other reason, and Jesse, I don't know if you're familiar that this is a Jones specialty. The other reason is they're kind of cheap. You can look up the Cowboys salary cap, and they always spend up to it because those are the rules. You can also look up over the last 5 years how much cash is spent. Cash is spent when you sign good players because you have to sign signing bonuses. That's real money. Teams have to have that in escrow. You got to pay that money. The Cowboys are kind of cheap compared to a lot of the teams in the NFL. They have the most valuable franchise in sports, but they're kind of cheap at building their team. And so their specialty now is you get to hear, we wanted to sign a running back, but we couldn't afford it, which then takes your brain to, why couldn't they afford it? And they're going to tell you it's because we have to give Dak a lot of money and CeeDee a lot of money, and we haven't done it yet. They're going to blame their best players to try to get you to pressure their best players to sign for less money, when they could have signed whoever they wanted by flipping a switch on Trayvon Diggs or Tank Lawrence or whoever. They could have signed whoever they wanted, and they're going to flip at least one of those switches at some point this offseason, but it's more convenient to them to not to have to sign the better free agents, which costs them actual cash money, and they can try to turn the fan base against their best players. That's the Jones specialty, baby.
And you know what, Jeff? To be honest with you, it's worked. Like, it's worked. Like,
a lot of people are mad at Dak right now. Like, that's not a $60 million player. He should sign for less. Like, and that's what they want you to say.
And not even that, but also in the sense of the Cowboys find ways to churn out 3 years of 12 wins.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, it's always, go in, spend more, do things. And I'm not taking up for them, but this is the specialty, right? And it comes into play, and then the guys go out there, perform, and they go. And like, even the cash part about it, like, we know that the Cowboys aren't cash strapped. Like, we know that part. Like, we know that part. That part we absolutely know. Like, they made $1 million. They made $1 billion last year in business, right? At AT&T. Like, the money is there if they need to put money in escrow. Like, they choose not to. They choose, and this is how the rich stay rich, right? Like broke people like us, we try to do things like rich people.
I'm rich.
And rich people do things like how broke people should operate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, rich people say, you know what? Well, the Prius is actually okay to drive. Right. And we, as the Commodores, we go, yeah, let me go get $1,000 a month BMW car payment. And the rich person goes, it gets us both to the same place at the same time. But
depends on which rich person. Ocho Cinco might be in a Prius. Jerry ain't.
Jerry's in a Lincoln Continental. Jerry's Like,
okay, but it comes with an extra expense because there's somebody driving it that he's paying for.
I mean, that's something different, right? Like that's Chili's and Warsaw. Like there's two different
The
spots.
secret to being rich is be rich. If you're rich, you get to be rich because your money is then invested in the stock market and in housing, which they're going up, 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 up. And people who don't have access to that don't have a way to grow their money. The secret to being rich is be rich.
Yeah. And the thing about the Cowboys is that the people who are the richest are also the people who are in charge and also the people who jobs are not at risk. And that's what it comes down to. Like, let's just be frank about this. That's what it comes down to. There never has to be a sense of urgency. There never has to be this quote unquote all in, this type of approach, this F these picks, these I have to be the best GM, I have to wheel and deal, I have to make things happen. Because at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, fail or succeed, my job security is never in question. And there is a level of urgency that comes along with that. When you know that if I don't succeed, I am unemployed, you hammer out these deals. You figure out ways and loopholes and how to get things done to collaborate and to bring in the best talent you possibly can to succeed. And we see it happen all around the league. The biggest problem is that the people, the Joneses, who are the general manager and the owner, there is never a real sense of urgency. And it's a word, we talked about this last week. It's a play on words, the all-in thing. These guys don't have to be all in because no matter what happens, you lose to Green Bay, you lose to San Francisco, whatever, you don't make the playoffs at all. Guess what? The name doesn't change. The Joneses still stay in charge. And that's, hell, for them, it's a great place to be in. For fans and for people who cover this team, it may become a frustrating thing, but at the end of the day, job security is the best security, right? Like, so they keep that no matter what. And they continue to keep the fans coming into the stadium, buying the merchandise, all these different things. So for them, it's why change what I actually do? Because there's no sense of urgency on my part. Who, as they used to say, who gonna check me, boo? Who gonna check me, boo? Nobody. Nobody's gonna check me. Nobody's going to check me. And they sometimes push Will McClay out there and say, Will McClay, he helps run this team. Let's be honest. Like, Will McClay has some part in picking players, but he doesn't run this team. You know, you can push that face out there if you want to. But if this thing goes to the championship next year or it bottoms out, the Joneses doesn't matter. Because their jobs are absolutely safe. And when you don't have to worry about that, then you don't have to do things like day one of free agency or anything else you don't feel like you want to do or need to do or have to do. Because you know at the end of the day, I sign my own checks. I literally sign my own checks. So
I like that you went with a Stephen Jones catchphrase too. At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, I'm still boss.
Anytime you hear Stephen talk, I want you to count two things. At the end of the day, and obviously, count them. If he talks for more than a couple of minutes, you'll get to 20. Obviously.
Now let's kind of, let's keep this thing in perspective as well. While the Cowboys did not cash in on day one, there are still a lot of good football players out there. Like not bottom of the bargain. Like I'm still a fan of the signing of Joe Mixon, but some people feel it, some people don't. I think that's still a really good attitude running back who can still give you some productivity.
I want Aaron Jones.
Huh?
I want Aaron Jones.
Well, Aaron Jones is gone. He's in Minnesota.
Oh, did he go?
He signed a 1-year deal to go to Minnesota. So there's no Aaron Jones.
The Green Bay is goofy to me. I mean, Josh Jacobs is younger and probably healthier. Aaron Jones is better than him. It's wild to me that they cut Aaron Jones, ate some money to pay somebody else more money that's not as good as him. But I guess, young,
so Aaron Jones,
and
the only two running backs on the left are King Henry and Joe Mixon. And unless you're going to line it up with Rico Deuce and Hunter Lipke, then have at it. But there's still guys like if you want to go, splash and sign Patrick McQueen. I mean, there are some. I think Eric Armstead is still out there. There are some players that are still out there on the market that you can sign that can still, help fortify your football team. Stay away from Chase Young. Don't go sign Chase Young. Please don't go sign Chase Young. I know the name sounds sweet, but don't go sign Chase Young. This is a guy that you don't want. Chase Young doesn't trust me. Chase Young is not the guy that you want to have in Dallas. He just isn't. He's just not the guy you want to have in Dallas. But they have to make something shake, and it's going to be interesting. We'll sit here and we'll watch this thing, and people will be upset. But, at the end of the day,
obviously,
the Cowboys will do what they want, when they want, how they want, and damn it, you will deal with it.
And you'll love it. I mean, look, we're going to get to training camp, and the outlook will be different. It'll be because look, you're going to be competitive because Dak, CeeDee, Micah, Diggs, Bland, Tank. They're going to be competitive, but I do think that they're going to take a step back this year, and I think they're going to suck in 2025.
Let me ask you this: do you think, because even free agency is happening and all stuff is happening, but from an agent's perspective and from a player's perspective, because agents don't care about feelings, right? At the end, I keep saying that, I'm sounding like Stephen Jones. At the end of the day, an agent is always trying to realize, yes, I want to get the most money for my player means my cut of the pie is bigger. So that's always an agent's mindset. An agent ain't worried about hometown discount. An agent ain't worried about going back home. An agent ain't worried about none of that. The agent's worried about, can I get the most money because that I'm going to get a cut of that. So I want my portion to be as big as it possibly can. But when you look at the Cowboys situation, this may go back to that whole how they handle a business from how they handle an operation from a business side. I have a head coach and office coordinator on a 1-year deal. I have a defense coordinator on a 1-year deal. And so when my client, because agents always want to look at, is my client going to be in a situation where he will be able to prosper and we get to another contract, right? Like in a couple years. But the 1-year deals, right? The 1-year deals with your head coach / OC and your defensive coordinator, I think that sometimes even keeps agents away from the Cowboys because they're saying well, my client in Zimmer's defense this year may be one thing. He may be looked at to do X, Y, and Z. But if Zimmer is gone in a year and a new guy comes in, now my client is asked to do A, B, and C that may bring his value down or may bring the way that they use him that may not be conducive of him being successful and us getting to another contract. Same thing offensively. If we're going to do X, Y, and Z, does my client fit that mold? And if he's going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years, what does the new coach say? Because if we go from a different system that my client can't be successful in, then I'm going to put him somewhere where there's a little bit more longevity. We can actually produce some numbers and actually get to that next contract, whether it be the client's, third contract or fourth, whatever it is. It's always how can we produce to that next contract? Is that something you think agents are thinking about in their mind right now when they're looking at the Cowboys with their situation?
Yeah, I think always. Everybody's always thinking about their money. Everybody's always thinking about my money and what's going to protect it and how am I going to get some more later and how am I going to do all the different things. But I do think ultimately, I don't know. It's just they have a lot to do and no urgency to do it. And we do tend to talk ourselves into pretty much whatever before football season starts. But it looks to me like their plan is such a bad one because of all the things they need. I think I can guess what they're going to do at every single position that they need. I think I could guess and get pretty accurate to nailing it, but it's all a bad plan because it's forcing yourself to pick things at certain spots in certain rounds, which is awful. But I think I know what they're going to do. I think I know it. You're going to sign a cheap veteran running back. You're going to draft one in the middle or late part of the draft. Center, you're going to let Brock Hoffman try it. Left tackle is going to be your first round pick. Center is going to be your second round pick. So running back will be your third round pick. Corner, you're going to have to sign somebody on the cheap like Jordan Lewis to come back. I think I know what they're going to do because they have so many things that they have to do that I think I can draw the map. That's bad. They need to sign some people that can play so that I can't draw the map.
Yeah.
So that they're available to just get the best players they can, because they don't live in that world right now. And that scares me. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. They re-signed their deep snapper, by the way. So they are on the board.
Okay.
They re-signed their deep snapper.
That's 2 players that they signed. They signed what's my name? The guy named Carl
Davis.
That
was before. That was before, though. He didn't count because he wasn't yesterday. He was before.
Oh.
We only count once the tampering period starts. We're on the board.
Deep
snapper.
Important.
Let's go.
Important. You have to have a perfect play every play.
You do. That's a fact.
Fact.
All right, Cowboy fans, hang in there. We're just getting started. Buckle in. I love you, Jesse.
Cowboys fans' fault anyway. It's y'all fault. I blame y'all.
We can't end like that.
Sorry, I'm playing. Ha ha.
Okay, thanks. Remember, you have no idea what anyone's going through, so be cool to everyone. We love you. Be easy.
Even Cowboy fans, eliminate the contingencies.